There is a moment at checkout that used to stop people. You would see the total. You would feel it. Something in your brain would register the number and run a quick involuntary calculation about whether this was actually a good idea. Behavioral economists have a name for this. They call it the pain of paying. Neuroimaging studies have found that spending money activates the insula, the region of the brain associated with physical pain. Cash hurts most. Credit cards hurt less. Contactless payment hurts less still. And then someone built a product specifically designed to remove that sensation entirely. They call it buy now, pay later. They gave it a pastel interface, friendly copy, and a checkout experience so smooth it barely registers as a financial decision at all. And spending went up 6.4%. Not because prices changed, not because people suddenly had more money, because the feeling of spending was removed. And without the feeling, the break was gone. To understand why BNPL, buy now, pay later, works the way it does, you need to understand present bias. Present bias is the human tendency to overvalue immediate rewards relative to future ones. Most people, if offered £100 today or £110 next week, will take the £100, not because they are irrational, because the present feels real and the future feels abstract. That gap in perception is a feature of how humans evolved to make decisions. BNPL exploits this gap with considerable precision. When you buy something with BNPL, the reward is immediate. You get the thing now. The cost is deferred, split into small installments, distributed across future weeks, on future paydays, in future versions of your bank account that feel comfortably distant from the present moment. Your brain registers this as I got something for almost nothing. Future you, who will actually pay for it, is not in the room. This is not accidental. The product was specifically engineered around this one cognitive tendency. When you pay with cash, the transaction hurts. When you pay with a card, that sensation is reduced. When you tap to pay, the friction is almost gone. BNPL removes it entirely. The purchase and the payment are fully decoupled. You take the thing home, you use the thing, and at some point in the future, a small notification arrives, reminding you that a payment is due, by which point the cognitive connection between the purchase and the cost has been thoroughly severed. The product is not making the purchase more affordable, it is making the purchase feel more affordable. And the gap between those two things is enormous. That is where the debt accumulates. BNPL is not a neutral financial product. It has a target demographic, and the targeting is worth examining closely. Women are 60% more likely than men to use installment plans. BNPL providers know this. They have built their marketing around it. The advertising language used by some of the largest providers includes phrases like, little payments are so much cuter. Read that again slowly. Someone in a marketing meeting decided that the correct way to sell a debt instrument to women was to describe it as cute. To apply the aesthetic language of self-care, of wellness, of the lifestyle content that already dominates the feeds where these ads appear, to a product that is at its core a short-term loan. The interface looks like a wellness app. The copy sounds like a supportive friend. It is one of the most effective rebrands in the history of consumer finance. Cute debt is still debt. The pastel interface does not change the late fee. Here is something that should be making more headlines than it is. Most BNPL debt does not appear on credit files. A Wells Fargo economist coined a term for this: phantom debt. Hundreds of billions of pounds in consumer financial obligations that exist, accumulate, and in a significant number of cases default, but do not appear in the official data that economists and policymakers use to assess the health of the economy. In 2024, a major bank CEO said the consumer was in pretty good shape. He was reading data that did not include the phantom debt. The picture he was describing was accurate for the data available to him. The data available to him was incomplete. The people experiencing the most pressure were, by design, the least visible in the numbers. When a financial product does not report to credit bureaus, something predictable happens. People use it multiple times simultaneously because nothing in the system tells them they should not. The CFPB found that in 2022, 63% of BNPL users were loan stacking. multiple active plans running at the same time across different platforms. Each platform could see only its own loans. None of them could see the full picture. Neither could the consumer. You have 4 apps. Each one shows you a small manageable payment. None of them shows you the total. The total is not a number that exists anywhere in a form you can easily see. This is not a design flaw. It is a design choice. A consolidated view of your total obligation would reintroduce the pain of paying. It would reconnect the purchase to the cost. It would reduce spending. And reduced spending is not in the commercial interest of anyone involved. There is a third party in this arrangement that barely features in the public conversation. The retailer. Retailers pay BNPL providers a fee, typically between 2 and 8% of the transaction, to place the installment option at checkout. They pay this fee because BNPL increases their conversion rates, raises their average order values. Customers who are about to abandon their cart into customers who complete the purchase. The retailer is paying for the psychological intervention. It is a revenue arrangement in which the consumer is the mechanism through which the revenue flows. The standard response to concerns about BNPL is financial education. Teach people about present bias. Help them understand the real cost of debt. Give them tools to make better decisions. Research found that financial literacy did not significantly moderate the relationship between BNPL use and financial instability. Informed consumers were nearly as susceptible as uninformed ones. This is a finding with significant implications. If people who understand behavioral economics are almost as likely to be affected as people who do not, the problem is not the consumer's knowledge. The problem is the product's design. Appropriate response is regulation of the product, not education of the consumer. The industry prefers the education response because education is inexpensive, keeps responsibility with the individual, and does not require changing the product. The policy debate continues to focus on financial literacy. The mechanism continues to function as designed. Let me connect this to everything we have covered in this series. The feed produces comparison. Comparison produces anxiety. Scarcity attaches a deadline to that anxiety. And BNPL removes the last remaining friction between the anxiety and the purchase. The system that produces the feeling of insufficiency and the system that finances the response to that feeling are not separate systems. The aesthetic economy and the debt economy are running on the same infrastructure, aimed at the same person at the same moment. The feed showed you the life. BNPL paid for it. Future you received the bill. And the entire loop, from the anxiety to the purchase to the debt, was designed by identifiable people at identifiable companies with a clear and measurable commercial logic. Almost none of it was described to you as what it actually was. Buy now, pay later is not a payment innovation. It is a psychological intervention that increases spending by removing the sensation of spending. It is aimed most aggressively at women and younger consumers. It generates phantom debt, invisible to the financial system. It is subsidized by the retailers, who benefit from the spending it produces. And it is most effective on the people least equipped to absorb the consequences. This is not a coincidence. It is the efficiency. The debt is real. The cute interface does not change that. Future version of you who will pay for the anxiety the feed produced this week did not agree to any of this. Hi, I'm Akanksha, and this was the Storyteller's Lens. If you like this video, please subscribe and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.